Hello and welcome back to IXL Tutorials. This is Mr. Duffick, and today we are doing IXL R5, which is finding the value of trig functions pertaining to special triangles. So let me review special triangles real quick. And remember, we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle up here. And because we know the angles are 30, 60, and 90, therefore we know the sides relate to one another via these ratios here. So for instance, the short leg here is going to be half of whatever the hypotenuse is, and the long leg is going to be the hypotenuse times the square root of 3 over 2. And then the second triangle being the 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, where both sides are going to be the same number, both isosceles sides. And then the hypotenuse is going to be whatever one of those sides is multiplied by the square root of 2. And so we're going to be doing that here. We're going to be evaluating certain trig values based off of those triangles. So here we see we have sine of 30 degrees. Okay, so what is that going to equal? In the next IXL during R6, you can just type this into a calculator and get an answer in like a decimal form. Here they want specifically the form and radicals in the square roots. And so that's what we have to answer this time. So sine of 30, we're going to go back here. So if we're doing sine of 30, that means we're going to be looking at the 30, 60, 90 triangle. And since we're doing sine of 30, remember sine is opposite over hypotenuse, right? And so we go to the 30 degree angle here for a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. And we want to go to the opposite side, which is going to be 1/2 the hypotenuse, over the hypotenuse, which is going to be the hypotenuse. So what that kind of looks like in math form is we want sine of 30. That's going to equal opposite over the hypotenuse, which is going to equal, the opposite again is 1/2 h, and then divided by h, the hypotenuse. Okay, well, we cross these out, and what do we have left? It's just 1/2. And that's all our answer is. So we'll go back here and just type in 1 over 2. Cool. Okay, let's do sine of 45 now. So we will go back to our special right triangles, and we will do sine of 45. So because there are two different 45 degree angles, it doesn't matter which one you choose. We'll just choose this top one right here, and we will find the sine of that angle. So sine of 45 degrees. Again, is going to be opposites over hypotenuse. Okay, so the opposite is going to be k over our hypotenuse, which is square root of 2 times k. Okay, so we cross out the k's and we are left with 1 over the square root of 2. Typically, you don't want to leave these square root or radicals in the denominator or in the bottom part of a fraction. So how we remedy that mathematically is just multiply the numerator and denominator by that bottom value, and we multiply across. So 1 times square root of 2 is square root of 2, and then square root of 2 times square root of 2, the square roots cancel out, and we are just left with 2. So this is our answer. You don't want to type it in as 1 over square root of 2. You want to convert it over to this. So the answer is going to be square root of 2 over 2. We'll go back to IXL. Okay, what if we do 2 over 2 and then highlight the top 2 with square root? There we go. That'll work. Square root of 2 over 2. There we go. Okay, now we have cosine of 60, so we'll go back to our special right triangle, back to the 30, 60, 90. Okay. And we are going to want cosine of 60. So cosine is going to be cosine of 60. It's going to be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Okay. So if we go here to our 60 degree angle, the hypotenuse is just going to be h, so I'll put that at the bottom. And then the adjacent is going to be the side that is touching this corner right here. That is not the hypotenuse, so that is going to be our 1/2 the hypotenuse. So we go 1/2 hypotenuse. Okay, again, the h's cancel out, so all we are left with is 1 over 2. It's as easy as that. Okay. And remember, cosine of 60 is the same as sine of 30, right? So it makes sense we were getting the same answer as our first problem, which was sine of 30. That was the last IXL exercise we did, R4. Cool. So now we have tangent. So we'll go back. This is tangent of 30. Bring out the triangle. And we know tangent is a combination of sine and cosine. So it's going to be opposite over the adjacent, right? And so we go to our 30 degrees, and the opposite of our 30 is going to be 1/2 h over the adjacent, which is this side right here, is going to be the square root of 3 over 2 times h. Okay. So we're going to cross the h's out because that's easy. We're left with 1/2 all over square root of 3 over 2. And then now we are going to divide the 2. We're going to break it up and kind of reformat like this. We'll do the 1/2. And then when you divide by a fraction by a fraction, you're just going to take your bottom fraction and bring it up next to the 1/2. You're going to multiply, but you're going to switch the numerator and denominator. So now it's going to be 2 over the square root of 3. We just switched them. But now we can multiply, so that's nice. So 1 times 2 is 2. And then 2 times square root of 3 is 2 square root of 3. Cancel out the 2's, and we are left with 1 over square root of 3. Again, we don't want to leave it like this. We're going to multiply both the top and the bottom by square root of 3. And we do that specifically so we can get rid of the radical in the bottom. That's the only way to get rid of it. You got to multiply a square root by itself, or to square it. And so now we're going to multiply across. Square root of 3 over square root of 3 times square root of 3 is 3. And that's our answer. Square root of 3 over 3. So we'll go back. I'm going to write 3 over 3 and then highlight the top and do the radical like that. And there we have it. Okay, so I'm going to skip a few now. Cosine of 45. Okay, so you get to smart score of 68, and they just ask you to do 3 of the functions instead of just 1, so I'm not going to repeat that. Now you do the inverse trig functions. So keep in mind, these are just going to be the same as what we've been doing, except you're going to flip the numerator and denominator. So I'll do this one real quick. Back now, I'll draw the triangle. Okay, so this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. It looks something like that, hopefully. 90 degrees, 45, and 45. Okay. And remember, we have k here, and then k times the square root of 2 here. And so remember, secant and cosine are inversely related. So we're going to find cosine first. Cosine is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. So secant is just the inverse of that. You're going to flip the top and the bottom. So secant is going to be hypotenuse over adjacent. So this is the one we need. Okay. So it says of 45 degrees, we'll just choose one. We'll choose this side right here. And so we have the hypotenuse, which is k times square root of 2, all over the adjacent. The adjacent is k. And so now we just cross the k's out, and we are left with the square root of 2. And that is all. Okay, so square root of 2. And there we have it. Cosecant, same deal, except that is related to sine, right? Cosecant and sine are related. So you'll do sine of 60, but then flip the top and the bottom of the fraction. Okay, now they want us to find the value of x. So we will start by finding sine of 60 and then figure out what x is after that. I can do this problem real quick. Again, I will draw the triangle. Okay, so because we're dealing with sine of 60, it's going to be a 30, 60, 90, right? So we have 30, 60, and then the 90. And we have the hypotenuse here. We have 1/2 the hypotenuse here. And then we have square root of 3 over 2 times the hypotenuse there. Okay. So sine is 60 degrees. So sine of this angle down here. Sine is going to be, sine is 60. It's going to be opposite over the hypotenuse. So the opposite of where 60 degrees is going to be the square root of 3 over 2h. Square root of 3 over 2h. All over just the plain old hypotenuse, which is h. Okay. We'll cancel those out. And we are left with the square root of 3 times 2. So remember, that's what the sine of 60 equals, but we still got to figure out what x is. So we're just going to set this equal to square root of 3 over 2. Or I guess maybe I should say we will plug square root of 3 over 2 into sine of 60. So this really becomes the square root of 3 over 2 equals 7x. Right? Just plug that square root of 3 over 2 in for sine of 60. And now we want to get x by itself. So how do we do that? Well, we got to divide both sides by 7. Great. So x is going to equal the square root of 3 over 2 times 7, which is 14. The square root of 3 over 14 is going to be our x value. So we'll go over here. We'll do 3 over 14. And then I'm going to highlight the 3, square root of 3, do the square roots, and just like that, that is correct. Okay. So it looks like this is the same kind of problem here, so I will stop the video at this point. So stay safe, take care, study hard, and I will catch you for the next IXL tutorial video later on. Goodbye.